Welcome to Soul Elevation, where you can guide your ascension to new heights. I'm your host, Kara Goodwin, and this episode is a great one for those who want to connect deeper with their intuition. And come on, isn't that everyone? Don't we all want to ignite our inner knowing and deepen our sense of connection to spirit? How can we tap into our own superpowers? Michelle gives great guidance on this and how she's developed her skills from the time she was little and what things she's overcome in order to really amplify her psychic skills, and so much more. Michelle's just a beautiful soul with great insights, and I know you're going to get a lot out of this discussion. Michelle Gahloub helps individuals overcome anxiety, reconnect with their authentic selves, and live with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Rooted in spirituality and personal growth, she empowers clients to break free from limiting beliefs and step into their fullest potential. Michelle's mission is to guide others toward lives of empowerment, fulfillment, and joy through coaching, workshops, and her online presence. So we'll dive into this in just a moment, but first I want to let you know about LoveTuner. I had LoveTuner's founder Sigmar Berg on a recent episode where we talked about the magic of sound frequencies, specifically the love frequency of 528. LoveTuner gives you simple and immediate access to this frequency throughout your day. There's so many benefits, from utilizing the power of the breath, to being in the sound itself, to just taking a couple of moments pause. I've personally loved using it for infusing the frequency into different rooms and spaces. Use my link in the show notes and code KARA for 10% off. That's KARA for 10% off LoveTuner. And now enjoy this episode. Well, welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to connect with you today.
I'm so excited to be here. So excited to connect with you.
So I want to start by talking about the small everyday steps that people can take to help overcome their anxiety and reconnect with their true self.
Amazing. So first off, anxiety, like what is anxiety? Anxiety is like the fear of the unknown, of the fear of what they don't know. Okay. So when people learn how to connect to that part of them that does know, that inner voice, opening their eyes up and removing the veil, that's when I feel they can really remove the anxiety. Okay. So quieting the voices around them, finding those activities that get them into a quiet space, into Zen mode, into the zone, whatever you want to call it. So doing those activities on a daily basis will help clear the mind so that they can visualize and actually see what's coming. They can remove the veils, so it's about quieting the noise around them and really being in that mode of receiving guidance. And when you're in that mode, it's like you're able to see everything. You're able to see that actually the grass is greener. The grass is green, It's beautiful. It's sunny outside. Because when we have anxiety, it's like we're in a ditch and we don't see. We don't see. We just have a veil over our head. So it doesn't mean that it's not beautiful out there. We just don't see that it's beautiful. So when we do these activities of quieting the mind and finding what works for you, it could be anything. It could be listening to white noise, the sound of rain, a meditation, breath work. Doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it resonates with you. You get yourself into the zone, and then you're in a place of receiving. You're at the frequency to receive guidance. And then the next step is to really know how it is you already receive guidance. So do you hear your guidance? Do you see your guidance? Do you feel in your body? Do you just know? Like, just to get more in touch with what that is. And then once you are more familiar, you're never going to miss the cues from your guides. I personally had a whole bunch of anxiety before I was even doing this. I was so anxious, and I begged the universe for help. And that's when things started to turn around for me.
That's what I wanted to know. I suspected there was a personal story of how you have used things like this to overcome anxiety. And it's like a plague. It's like something that is so common right now. So you're talking about being in the Zen
Oh,
zone
yes,
and
yes.
the flow. If we take that a step further, and because I know you deal a lot with intuition, and
Yeah.
that is such a strong connector point for a lot of people to be able to overcome their anxiety. But can you talk a little bit about how those things go together? Because maybe not everybody understands like how deepening their spiritual connection can be related to
Oh, I get it.
anxiety.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I get what you're saying now. Okay. So it's basically when you connect in a spiritual way, you are taking yourself out of the equation. You're not trying to figure everything out on your own. Okay? So it's about creating that bridge between you and the universe. If you feel like, okay, I'm in control and I need to figure it all out and I need to figure out if I should resolve this problem in this way or that way, you are stepping in the way. You are not allowing the universe to show you the steps. So there is a level of surrender. There is a level of letting go and literally just saying, universe, you help me. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And letting the universe in to kind of show you what your next steps are. You don't need to really. I was a very listen, I was always very spiritual, but I didn't ever beg the universe for help. So when I was at my rock bottom and I had major anxiety because I didn't know how to resolve anything, I turned to my friends first, yes, but there was a limit to how much they could help me. So when that wasn't working, yes, I was like, universe, please, I beg you, I need help. I don't even know what way to turn. It was literally just a dialogue. It was me just saying, universe, I need help. I really do. Just speaking it out loud. And I feel like that's what created the opening for this dialogue to start happening.
I love that. Now, when we put that out, when we put out like an intention or a heartfelt plea, then sometimes it doesn't happen that we get the answers that we want right away. What was your experience in terms of like I put this out and then how what was the response like for you?
Yeah, so I was actually crying. I remember I was crying. Like and it takes a lot for me to cry, but I was crying that night and I was like, please, I don't know what to do anymore. So that night was trying to fall, I was really trying to fall asleep and I was in alpha state. I was like in between awake and asleep. And my spiritual teacher who had passed away a couple of months earlier appeared as I'm seeing you right now, very clearly at the foot of my bed. And that was like a very shocking experience. I was like, wait, am I actually dreaming this? This is no, I am seeing this. I am
Wow.
seeing this. I My heart started racing. I was looking around the room. I saw my husband sleeping next to me. I was like, this is crazy. And I heard his voice saying, "Yes, I'm here and I hear you. I heard your call." And he basically answered all my questions, like gave me all the solutions to my, to all my anxiety. So it was really an incredible magical experience. I heard him, but we were talking telepathically. And that was my first experience of like, okay, there is definitely a world beyond this world that I have not been tapped into.
That is so powerful. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And then from that point, you felt that you had been given the guidance to help start taking action on the things that you were anxious about.
Yeah. I just had a miscarriage shortly, like a couple of months before, and I was feeling really desperate. Like, am I ever going to get pregnant? Is this ever going to happen for me? What about finances? Is that ever going to improve? Yes. And And I heard clearly, like, if you do X, you will get pregnant. And if it was like step by step instructions. And I got pregnant a week after this whole thing happened.
Wow.
And then even the finances started to turn around. Like everything just started to move. And I would say probably because the anxiety got lifted, because I felt this feeling of like calm. I felt supported. I felt taken care of. I literally felt like somebody had put a blanket over me and comforted me and said, you're going to be okay. And just from that knowing, that inner knowing, like everything's going to be okay, everything started to move in the right direction.
Wow, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
So, talk about the role of limiting beliefs in people's abilities to live authentically. What role do the beliefs play, and how can people work on releasing them?
We all have our limited beliefs about, like who we are, for example. I don't believe that I can step into my power, for example. I feel like the more we get to understand who we are and who our soul, like what our souls came here to do, the more we're going to shed away these beliefs, because that's our brain talking. The limited beliefs are coming from our brain. Our soul knows the truth. So when we connect to our soul's power and really step into our higher selves, our potential, our best version of ourselves, and see ourselves for the souls that we are, as opposed to our accomplishments, for example, then we can truly step into who we are. We can truly step into our power and shed away these belief systems that plague us on a daily basis.
Right. I love that. Talk a little bit more about the superpower and how we step into our superpowers. And what do you mean by superpowers? How can people find what their superpowers are?
So we all have our gifts that we've come into this world with. Okay. If we go back in our lives and pinpoint all the times in our life that we felt super connected, super alive, like on fire. Okay. Like, whoa, I love it when I do X, or I love it when I did this, that, and the other. And if we write a list of all those things, I know that you'll find like a common thread of everything that really lights you up. When you're connected to those things that light you up, you're connected to your gifts, to your superpowers. Because, for example, before I was doing readings, I when I pinpointed all the things that I loved, what it boiled down to was that I loved helping people see who they were, whether it was through going for coffees with my friends, or when I was in my fashion business, like interacting with my clients, whatever it was. Like there were so many different things, but the common thread was all about people and helping them see who they were. And so that became the thing that was my superpower. I mean, it was always my superpower. I just didn't realize it. That was the thing that I decided to energize. When I was in my 9-to-5 job in my fashion business, I didn't feel like this connection to my superpowers, like really. So I decided that I was going to energize this vision of who I was, or this feeling that I got, so that I could bring that into my life, bring that feeling, bring that energy. And that's how I really realized this is my superpower. This is the thing that lights me up the most. This is my magic. And obviously, like when you have friends who share with you what they love about you, it'll probably be very much tied into that superpower.
I love that. And I love how it was sort of like latent. I mean, it was still your superpower and you were still using it at all of these in all these different ways, but then it was like, how can I utilize this to really like do something that I love and let it be a part of how I express myself and how I sustain myself, but it's this important factor that was already there and you were tapping into in different ways.
Yeah, I feel
That's so
like
beautiful.
when we're tapped into our superpowers, it's really what we do with our lives is an extension of who we are. So my work doesn't feel like work. I love what I do. It feels like, oh, this is just me. I'm just doing what I do. That's the beauty of it. That's the magic of really being connected to what lights you up and what your true gifts are. Because when we take away the veils and we take away the negative self-talk, not, that's just our ego speaking. And when we truly connect to our souls, we'll really see like, wow, we are amazing beings. Like, we're amazing.
Yeah.
We have so much to offer. Yes.
That's beautiful. So tell me how you work with people, because it sounds like such a fascinating connection of, you've mentioned readings, and I know that you work with people to help them work on their own transformation, which would be, I see as a little bit different from readings, but maybe you've combined the two. But what are people experiencing when they work with you?
Through doing an Akashic record reading, I'm able to tap into their soul's potential. Okay, so I see these souls for really who they are, not their baggage that they come with. Okay, I truly see them for the beautiful souls that they are, and I help them reconnect to that version of themselves, that not the one that has self-doubt or the one that is like, my life looks like this. I help them see what is possible for them and help them, step into their power and remove the blockages, give them tools to overcome these limiting beliefs, give them tools um, to help them really truly step into who they are, and to dream big, and to live their lives fully tapped in, that they can receive the guidance for themselves so that eventually they won't need me. I just help them see it.
That's amazing. So, what role does trusting intuition play? So, when we're dealing with intuition, it's not black and white, or at least in my experience, it's not as black and white as other parts of physical reality.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the role of trust, and how do you help people? And how, or maybe a better question is, how did you learn to trust yourself more as you've gone through the process of tapping into the Akashic records and your own gifts?
Yeah. So really it was all about practice. It's okay if you get it wrong. It's, you practice, you put yourself in that mode of, okay, I'm going to receive guidance. Let's see what I get. And letting go of your attachment to what you think it might mean. Okay. So what I would do is I would receive guidance. I would write it down and I would put it aside. And then I would look at it a couple of days later when I wasn't really attached to figuring it out, to understanding it. Because as soon as I put my spin on it, I kind of corrupted my message in the first place. So I would put it aside and then I would ask my guides, can you please share with me what that meant? As opposed to trying to figure it out in the moment. So I did that. And obviously even when I first started doing sessions, I still didn't fully trust my intuition. It was like it was baby steps. So it may have taken me longer to answer a question. I may have second guessed myself. There was one particular session that was kind of the game changer for me, where I was connecting to a woman who was in her mid 70s, who I saw when I was tapping in. I saw her flying out of an airplane, like skydiving. But my logical brain was like, no, it can't be. I'm not going to tell her that. Like, I'm going to look like an idiot. Like, what is a 75-year-old woman like jumping out of a plane for? So I did not tell her a thing because I assumed, and that's another thing. With intuition, we should never assume what it means. So I assumed she would never jump out of a plane. So I didn't tell her. But my guides kept repeating it. You have to tell her. You have to tell her. You have to tell her about the skydiving. And I realized then, when I did tell her, and it made total sense to her. It was the missing piece of the puzzle for her. I realized then, like, that as soon as I tried to analyze or make sense out of something that was coming to me in terms of intuitive hit, that was when it's like I might as well throw it in the garbage, you know? So it was practice and validation. I got validation from my clients even before doing readings. I would get validation from friends when I was just practicing. I just feel like it's really important just to keep going. It's like a muscle. You have to build your intuitive muscle. Everyone has a different intuitive language. We got to just learn that language for ourselves. It's not like what works for me might not work for you. Like a yes answer for me doesn't look like the same yes answer for you. And you just need to get more in touch with how you're being spoken to. That's all. That's actually what it is.
Mm, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
It makes me want to know about your journey too, like how you, because of course, there's going to be evolution, there's going to be development, but have you been able to access your intuitive gifts like from the time you were little, or was this something that you chose to step into, or was it a combination?
So I was always intuitive as a kid. I just didn't realize it because a lot of us are very intuitive, but we think that what is coming to us as intuitive hits is actually our thoughts. We're like, oh yeah, I thought this about this person, and it happened to be right. Like coincidence. Oh, but it's not. Yeah, I was very intuitive. I just did not know how intuitive I was. I didn't recognize how I received my guidance. I was a very shy kid, so there you go for a quiet space. I was in the zone a lot of the times. Okay. So
Right. And I wonder how much of it too is just like when you know something, you just know it.
yeah,
And so in the moment, you may not even be able to appreciate that other people don't know those things, right?
right. Yeah,
You
I had
know?
exactly. You know, at the age of 8, I remember telling my mom about somebody that she was working with that I was like, I don't trust her. I don't feel good feelings about her. And my mom's like, what are you talking about? She's such a nice woman. I was like, I don't know. Don't trust her. My mom, like I was 8. So she didn't really listen, I would say. She just thought I was being grumpy. Um, and this woman actually tried to swindle her out of like a lot of money.
Oh,
So someone was like, "Oh my god, all along you knew," and I'm like, "I know. I wish you just listened to me." So yes, I
yeah.
always was very intuitive. I just wasn't aware, and I feel like that's the thing with most of us is like we're just not aware, so we don't know when we're receiving it.
Hmm.
We just don't know. So we just have to step into knowing that you are intuitive and just learning how it is that you receive your guidance.
And then did you keep kind of nurturing that as you got older, or was there a period of time where you kind of rejected it or just let
Oh,
it,
yeah. So no, I did not nurture it. It was what it was. And then after I had that experience with my spiritual teacher, it was then that I was like, okay, I need more of this. I mean, that was so magical. Imagine that I could always get the guidance that I need. Like kind of when I'm asking for it, because I asked for it then. Like all the other times I never really asked. So I was intentional in my asking. And so I just kept on asking. I was like, okay, that was amazing. Could you do this again? Could you come back again? And it happened again a month later.
Same thing like at the foot of your bed, you could see with your physical eyes and
Yeah,
all of that. Oh
same
my
thing.
gosh.
And I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And then it was then that I was like, okay, I need to learn more about this. I shifted from being kind of like controlling and trying to do things on my own to super open. Like, I want guidance. Because you're only guidable as much as you can only be guided as much as you're guidable. I was so open to being guided in a way that I never was before. And I feel like that's kind of what opened things up. And I met this healer from Argentina by coincidence who um, she's the one who told me. She was like, I feel like your third eye is open, and I feel like I need to teach you everything I know. And that's kind of how it started. So it was very Mr. Miyagi style, like wax on, wax off. I'm going to teach you. So she taught me how to tap into my intuition. She, in a way that wasn't conventional. It wasn't like, these are the steps you need to take. It was like, hey, tell me about this person. She would just give me people's names. And she would say, tell me what you get. And, whatever comes to you. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, what do you mean? You want me to do this out loud? And she was like, enough with your ego. Come on, just tell me. And I was like, okay. And I would say, oh, this person, I see them in the kitchen. I thought I was making it up. And that is what intuition feels like. It feels like we're daydreaming. It feels like we're making a lot of it up. And that's the part that you need to get used to. Because even when I was first, at the beginning of my journey doing readings, I kept saying, oh my God, I feel like such a fraud. I feel like I'm making it up. But all my clients at the end of the session would be like, oh my God, how did you know that? That was so true. But that is how it feels. So when you're, on your journey to tapping into intuition, it will feel like you're making it up. It does feel like you're making it up, but it's not. It's guidance.
So, and that brings me to an interesting, kind of point from the other perspective. Do you find when you're working with people and you have a session that you're having with somebody, there are different levels of openness that people are willing to, where they're willing to meet you, or where, how reserved they're going to be, how much they're going to come along on the ride? What's your experience been in terms of somebody's willingness and ability to come with you on this ride, if that makes sense?
Yeah, totally. So the more open somebody is, the more guidance I'm able to share with them. When somebody comes in and it usually happens with those who have been gifted a session. So they didn't really want to have a session on their own. It wasn't their choice. They were like, oh, my friend gifted me this. So they didn't really have the desire for it. So it's often those people that I found were to be the most closed. And yeah, guidance doesn't come through as well for them as it would for somebody who comes totally open. Yes, they'll receive some guidance, but it's often received with, yeah, but, there's always a, yeah, but what about this? With resistance. And I feel like if you really want to get the best guidance ever that's available to you, keep the yeah, but aside. And just really be open to hearing what your guides want to share with you. Because it's me sharing it. It's coming through me.
Right. And I would guess that also, just being human beings, and how, you kind of mentioned the ego, how your teacher was like, get your ego out of it. But it is kind of if you keep getting these negative, no, that's not, it's not really right. Or, or they're, not willing to kind of come along with you, then that kind of shuts you down too, just from it brings that self-doubt back in, which isn't going to help anything, because it closes down a little bit, you're
totally
channeling, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's so fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Yeah. Well, tell everybody how they can find out more about you and how they can connect with your work.
So I'm on Instagram. Mostly Instagram's my jam. At Michelle Galoob, and also on my website, michellegahloub.com. I have a live 3-hour live on Zoom, not live in person, 3-hour workshop coming up on Sunday, February 23rd, where I will teach you how to access your own personal Akashic records and how to tap into your intuition. Tap into and trust your intuition, because we do a lot of practice. So that's on Sunday, February 23rd, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today, Michelle. It was so nice to meet you, and I just found this so fascinating and enriching. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Soul Elevation. Please take a moment to think about someone in your life who might be uplifted or have their curiosity sparked by this content, and please send it to them. Let's keep sharing high-frequency, empowering content to reinforce the highest potential for humanity. I also invite you to subscribe to this content. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you for the next episode of Soul Elevation.